What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Golf on Tap. Jack Bushman here, as always, with Ross Baran. Today, we'll be breaking down Sepp Straka, cashing a ticket for yours truly at the American Express. We'll also get into some early looks for this week's Farmers Insurance Open as the PGA Tour season begins to ramp up here in 2025. We go out west to Torrey Pines, where sounds like we're going to be twice in 3 weeks. Ross will share our thoughts on the latest rumors about the Genesis Invitational as well, some of the latest news with Live Golf, and a bunch more golf tidbits along the way. Quick reminder off the top, if you don't follow us already wherever you get your podcast, make sure to do so. That way you can join us on every show, even if you're not able to catch up live. Ross, another week of the PGA Tour has came and went. Felt good for yours truly to finally get back in the W column, considering the heartbreaker the week prior with Nick Taylor. I had Colin Morikawa as the runner-up at the Century. I had a lot of close calls during the fall swing. For Sepp to finally cash the way that he did made it about as sweat-free as it could have possibly been. I told you before recording, I was still a little sweaty there on Sunday, considering all the bad beats that I had had as of late, but Sepp just kind of cruise control the entire thing throughout the way. Ross didn't record a bogey until the 70th hole and was kind of able to go about his business and record his third PGA Tour victory.
Yeah, I mean, I was completely honest that with the Bills playing Sunday, I just kind of followed along with Sepp, just saw Sepp going to work, pulling away, and it was pretty much a done deal. That it just looked like it was his week to come back, finally close one out. And I mean, the only major thing was pace of play, which was atrocious.
It was a nightmare.
Which was Sepp doing what Sepp had to do, pull away, nice and easy round, just to finish it. And then we had just a lot of other non-golf things to talk about, really.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame anyone for electing to tune out the old American Express in favor of the NFL football playoff games, as if you didn't really have Sepp Straka, there was no real reason to be all that invested. Justin Thomas gave it a little bit of a run at the end, which I'll get into more here in just a second. But the final thought that I wanted to share on Sepp Straka is, as someone who has been betting Sepp a lot since pretty much early on last summer. I mean, he had an excellent season and a lot of high-end finishes on big boy golf courses. He's really been building towards this for a long time, and it was really satisfying to stay on him for the victory because he struck the ball beautifully at the Sony Open, and I actually had placed a wager on him there. I know Uncle Tweeth actually, when I posted my card that week, Uncle Tweeth jumped in the comment section and said he absolutely loved Straka that week. So I hope Uncle Tweeth carried on with Sepp like I did the following week at PGA West. But he really has been building towards this for a long time. His ball striking is at a very special level. And there's a reason this guy played for the Europeans on the Ryder Cup. He's now a 3-time PGA Tour winner, and he's got more wins than Justin Thomas and Patrick Cantlay during that stretch. Yeah, it's the American Express, the Honda Classic, and the John Deere, but wins are still wins on the PGA Tour. And for Sepp to go and do it the way that he did, his first time ever having a 54-hole lead, didn't really show any of the nerves or any hiccups, really. He mentioned toward the broadcast after, Ross, that he was feeling nervous and definitely was anxious out there on the golf course, but you really couldn't tell. He just kind of did his thing, hit a ton of fairways. The iron play was exquisite all week long, and as I outlined in my Best Bets article last week, Ross, one of the main reasons why I was on Straka was because he had putted beautifully, specifically at the Pete Dye Stadium course. It's actually the only course that records data at the American Express, but he had putted the ball beautifully there in the past, and his ball striking really, like I mentioned, had been electric since the summer of 2024. So nice to see Sepp kind of put it all together and have a pretty clean win en route to his third PGA Tour victory. But as you mentioned, Ross, the real story from the American Express, I guess you would say, outside of Sepp Straka, was the pace of play. It was absolutely dreadful. And I think a lot of people, I'm sure, were second screening the American Express with football on the main screen, so they probably didn't understand truly how bad the final round was. But as someone who is sitting there without a cash ticket in the outright market for, several months, for that round to be 6 hours, I mean, dude, it seriously was painful how slow that final round was moving. And I really believe it was all due to Patrick Cantlay and Mark Hubbard. More so Mark Hubbard, quite honestly, than Patrick Cantlay. Like, every time they were showing them up ahead, Mark Hubbard was like 3-putting from 18 feet, and then he's taking his sweet-ass time over the 4-footer, and then when he misses, he's like mystified and holding like his arms crossed. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous how slow these guys were moving, Ross. And the 11th hole, the first par 5 on the back 9, the final grouping spent 45 minutes on that hole. And legitimately, I think Patrick Cantlay and Mark Hubbard might have spent 2 hours of their final rounds on the par 5s. So freaking slow. And as we can see tonight in TGL, Patrick Cantlay clearly is capable of hitting just fine golf shots. Yeah, I know it's not the same pressure as a PGA Tour event when there's millions of dollars at stake, but clearly these guys are capable of executing at a high level quicker than what they're doing it right now on the PGA Tour. No one is holding them accountable, though, and that's the biggest thing, Ross. If I was a PGA Tour player, listen, I'd be taking my sweet-ass time, too, if the PGA Tour wasn't going to do anything about it. I'm not blaming the players here as much as I just went off on Mark Hubbard and Patrick Cantlay. It's the PGA Tour who has to enforce this because it's literally hurting their product so badly and pushing fans away. It was a 6.5-hour final round yesterday, man. Ridiculous.
No, I mean, you hit it on the head, because I was laughing that even Dan Rappaport was talking about tonight in TGL with Patrick Cantlay that he can play fast. You can see he can play fast. He just chooses not to. And on top of that, Patrick Cantlay is really sticking with, a typical golf round, looking absolutely miserable and not wanting to be there.
No emotion at all.
Just like any other week. On top of Cam Young keeping it up and not being able to close in TGL either.
Yeah, what do you know? Surprise, surprise. I think Charlie Hoffman really had it going in this final round. Like, if there was anyone I was sweating, Justin Thomas as a chaser, he has shot a 59 at the Pete Dye Stadium course in the past. There was always part of me that was a little wary about Justin Thomas, especially when he was 5 under through the first 9 holes. I'm like, JT, I love you, bud, just not fucking today. But Charlie Hoffman was really the one who was putting the pressure on Sepp Straka, because legitimately in the opening 10 holes on that final round, he had a birdie putt within 20 feet every single hole. Like, Chuck Hoffman was absolutely feeling it, but I can pinpoint the exact moment, Ross, where things went sideways. And I don't know how many people actually caught this, because again, it was part of that 40-minute delay when the final pairing was on the 11th hole. The cameras pan to Chuck Hoffman in the middle of the fairway on 11, and he's yawning. I'm not kidding. Chuck Hoffman is in the middle of the back 9 contending for, I don't know when the last time Chuck Hoffman won a trophy was, but his first win in ages, and he's yawning. And it's not because of the moment and he's tired of the moment or anything. It's because, A, the pace of play was taking forever, and B, I'm sure you guys have known this feeling. Whenever you get a rush of adrenaline or you get super amped up, when that stops, your body gets so tired. And it was so clear that Chuck Hoffman was amped up. He had it going, crushing the driver, hitting it further than J-Day and Sepp Straka, throwing darts, but his adrenaline completely wore off there in the middle of the 11th fairway. 1 hole later, goes and makes a 6 on the par 3. It was good night Jim Kite for old Charlie Hoffman. But I really believe if that final round had been kept up at a good pace, Charlie Hoffman would have been right there, because until the pace of play became an issue, he was lights out. I got to give Charlie Hoffman a lot of credit, but that yawn, I knew he was cooked after that, brother.
Yeah, and honestly, now that you bring it up, is Chuck Hoffman just a dark horse to bet in this part of the season every year?
Yes, he said so himself. He literally gave away his own secrets. He said after, because he had a good showing, or had a good opening 36 holes. He was right there throughout the entirety of the tournament. And he said, when it's warm and when it's warm and when I'm in the desert, I feel like I can play with anyone. We saw it at the Waste Management Phoenix Open last year. He's a San Diego native, so he's familiar with these style of courses, the American Express. He's won there in the past. Yes, if it's warm, we're nuking Charlie Hoffman. If it's warm and in the desert, Charlie Hoffman is a go-to. Unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to get many more of those setups until we hit the Waste Management Phoenix Open, and then that actually might be it for him until maybe the Shriners and the Shriners is gone, so tough scene for old Chuck Hoffman, but it is definitely something to note. Chuck Hoffman still got game, and he crushes the golf ball, man. Like, he hits the ball well for an older guy.
Yeah, no. I just have been putting it together with last year Waste Management. Now even these past couple of weeks, Chuck just is early season horse, I guess.
Early season, warm weather. Take note for 2026, Ross. We might have to get on the Chuck Hoffman bandwagon at like 300-1 some crazy week. Do want to talk for a moment about Justin Thomas, as he gave it a really good go on Sunday. Just kind of ran out of steam there on the back nine. He was 6 under through his first 11 holes, and I was like, dude, Justin, not today. He actually, I think he missed a 5-footer on 7, and then he also missed a 13-footer on 12 that kind of cooled off his putter. But we continue to see strides from Justin Thomas in terms of the finishes. I know it's been, the Zozo, which wasn't against top-tier players. The American Express had a couple, but, it's not signature event style tournaments or anything. But Justin Thomas clearly is still making waves. We know he's really picked up his ball speed off of the tee as well. He was absolutely bombing and gouging the Pete Dye Stadium course during that final round to just give himself as many wedges into play to try and make as many birdies possible. What are your thoughts on Justin Thomas, though, Ross? Like, I think there's a lot of people saying he's back, and I do agree that Justin Thomas is back in a sense. I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to go and bet him in a signature event at Torrey Pines against the best players in the world just yet, because we haven't seen it against that level of competition. And the Century, he didn't have a high-end finish. What are your thoughts on Justin Thomas?
He's kind of got me in my mind in a pretzel right now.
Same.
Because I can see he's backer than he's been.
Right.
I don't know if he's there to take a signature event down, but then at the end of the year, if you told me he won the US Open or something, I don't think I would be shocked either.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of, I can't precisely put my finger on where Justin Thomas is in the climb. We both agree he's definitely on the climb. He's making strides. The irons are absolutely back. The driver is kind of at a new level. It's always going to be about the putter with Justin Thomas, and that's what's going to make or break him winning or having these runner-up type of finishes. I know he's capable of it. I still think I need to see it one more time against a strong field before I personally feel really inclined to go and bet him, especially because Justin Thomas is going to be at a 16, 18, 20-1 number because he's a popular player and he's starting to get in form. We all know what his ceiling is when he's right. Those are just kind of my thoughts. I think we're both kind of seeing it the same way. We appreciate the good things we're seeing out of Justin Thomas. He's making clear-cut strides. Not exactly ready to go and hammer him at Torrey Pines in a couple of weeks, though. But if he won, I also wouldn't be surprised, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Other thing I wanted to bring up from the American Express, Ross, poor William Mao. Poor William Mao went viral for the wrong reason in golf, as made a 13 at the par 5 16th at the stadium course, found himself in that bunker 3 different times, Ross. But you know what? I really appreciated 2 things about this entire situation. One, that the broadcast showed it and that they put out all the shots of William Mao. And 2, that William Mao went and did an interview with the PGA Tour about it for content, had a good laugh about himself, and is able to get over it and move on. And those are the exact moments, Ross, that I think we need more of in professional golf. Because you know what us fans love as much as great golf? Dog shit golf. We love watching pros be just like us. And there's always been this kind of unspoken thing that the PGA Tour, I feel doesn't want to make their players look bad or show bad shots or put them in a bad light. But that's precisely what we want to see, because that's what happens to us on the golf course every single time we tee it up. That's what brings the relation between the fans and these golfers. So to see William Mao kind of be okay and give that interview, there would have been so many guys that would have said no and moved past that type of situation. I was grateful that we were all able to come together as golf fans and have this type of laugh, right? This is what it should be about, right?
I don't know if you watched the video with the full audio, but I almost pissed myself.
Dude, it was so good.
For the eighth shot when he chipped back across, and it caught the ridge, and you saw it it's going to go and go back down. And the second it starts going down that hill, the fact that the caddy was still down there raking the first three.
Yes. You know, he saw that and he went, fuck.
And B, is it's going down and catch it and starts to catch the ridge. You hear the crowd on the hole all go, oh, and see the lone guy in the background that when it goes down the hill that you just hear, what the fuck?
Dude, there were so many things you could have taken from that like 4-minute clip. There was also the announcer's reaction to when he hit the 11th shot, when he was from the front of the green and then he launched it long, and the announcer was like, no, Mal, what are you doing? Like,
yes.
There were so many great moments from that, but I'm just appreciative that we actually got to see it. And I think that actually kind of goes hand in hand with something I wanted to bring up as well. The kind of letter that Justin Thomas sent out to the PGA Tour players today about kind of offering themselves up more to the broadcast and bringing a more positive broadcast experience. To be honest, I don't really think Justin Thomas, anything he said there really like is groundbreaking or like news probably to anyone. And it's not the most innovative way to update the broadcast and its issues, but I appreciate Justin Thomas being like getting in front of the players and addressing this issue and kind of recognizing that something has to change here in order for the sport to move forward. I think this is kind of the same type of situation. Like, you have to be okay with yourself looking bad. Like, you just have to be okay with it. And you have to be okay with people on the internet seeing that, because guess what? At the end of the day, this is what literally 99.9% of the golfers look like during their rounds. And I think fans truly appreciate that kind of stuff. And on the other side of it too, Ross, I think a big thing that golf needs that people don't talk about, it's something that we mentioned when Bryson won the U.S. Open. If you are one of the players, as Justin Thomas alluded to in his letter, he's not asking anyone to go outside of their comfort zone and be who you aren't. But if you are one of those players who can be an entertainer while executing at the highest level of your sport, you need to show that emotion. You need to be like Bryson and give fist pumps and interact with the crowd, because that's how you actually enhance the broadcast and make it feel like there's some drama going on with the sport, right?
The way that I was kind of taking Justin's comments are, cards are limited, right? We're down to like 150 guys are going to end up getting a card now. There are 2,000 guys that will kill to have is the spot and the opportunity that you do. You need to make the most of the opportunity that you have. And the opportunity that you have is you need to make yourself accessible so people can learn about you. That's what makes the game interesting, as we know about these players. We see their personality. It's one of the biggest kickers that they've gotten in the past for the golf crowd is Full Swing, giving the behind the scenes look at what a player's day to day is like on and off the course, family life, how struggling with mental health, like going to therapy and doing all these things. And I think Justin's just kind of pointing out, like, you need to do this. You were handed a world-class opportunity. You need to be accessible. People want to know. You need to be able to tell them.
Definitely. And I appreciate Justin Thomas doing that. I didn't mean to like throw stones at it by saying like there wasn't really anything innovative he said there, but it is important that this message does get sent, because it's how you, again, enhance this sport and the life surrounding it, right? Because the game in and alone of itself, it's just not an entertaining game, man. And you got to find other ways to make this thing entertaining, especially for people who aren't like us, who are already bought in and are going to watch on a weekly basis. If you really want to grow this thing, those are the ways I feel that you got to go about it. So we'll see where that goes. I did also want to make sure to mention, though, I thought the broadcast was better this week, specifically the main feed going live on ESPN Plus at like 11 or 12 o'clock, so we could at least keep up with the final couple pairings as they start the final round. That is definitely a nice touch. It's still, not the ideal pipeline that we want, where you just have it on one channel showing everything at the same point in time.
God forbid.
Yeah, God forbid that's feasible in the year 2025. For a billion-dollar fucking professional sports corporation.
It's crazy. If only we had something like a golf channel that just showed everything all day.
It would be amazing, right? And that's the thing about it is I feel like I saw Rick Gaiman post on X during the final round on Sunday. He was like, what's happening with the PGA Tour right now would literally be like if this Rams-Eagles game was first getting broadcasted. It was starting on television with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's precisely what's happening with the PGA Tour. And I saw, I forget exactly who it was that was a member of PGA Tour Live, commented and was like, we're here on ESPN Plus. And brother, we get it. We are not throwing shade at you and PGA Tour Live because you guys are doing your job with what you're told. You're not the ones letting us down. It's the ones at the top orchestrating this whole thing that is letting us down with this entire mess. We appreciate what you do at PGA Tour Live, but we can't sit here and act like this is the best way to broadcast golf in the year 2025 because it's just a flat out lie.
Yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't fucking make sense. I mean, happy birthday to the Golf Channel that turned 30 years old this week, and I ended up going viral for what do you think of when you see this logo? And I said not showing the golf, and I watched that thing get retweeted like 3,000 times. So
it was excellent, brother. It was excellent. As I commented, a pregame that's going on while the final round has already started. It's the most lunatic thing in sports. Imagine CBS continuing their pregame as the opening kickoff has already happened. It's absolute blasphemy, man. What's also blasphemy, this is at least the final thought that I had, Ross, from the American Express. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to bring up after this before we kind of change topics. What also was blasphemy from the American Express was we didn't get one single shot of Frankie Sappin. Not one. Finished T12 at the American Express. You know who we got shoved down our throat? Good old 17-year-old Blades Brown making his first start as a professional. Listen, I'm not throwing shade at Blades. 17-year-old, mega talented, incredible opportunity, and he was really well spoken for a 17-year-old.
He played great.
Yeah,
like,
Blades
he played a fucking unbelievable round. It's just if you're gonna show Blades, also show Frankie having a fucking career round.
What do you think the reason for that is?
The same reason that we have to switch 4 fucking channels on Sunday to watch the final round.
I was genuinely asking, like, is there like a disdain for Frankie Sappin and those players who are coming on tour, and there's like more of a reason for them to be? I was literally trying to like piece through in my mind if it was anything other than just sheer laziness from the PGA Tour and the broadcast as usual as to why we got no love for Frankie Sappin. I mean, it was a phenomenal tournament out of the boy.
I couldn't tell you. That we pick up on every other fucking story in the world. We're not going to talk about a potential rookie of the year candidate going out and finishing just outside the top 10 in his third fucking tournament on tour since getting his card.
Yeah, right. No full spoilers here, but it's probably the same reason why you see a lot of Justin Thomas on PGA Tour Live. Wink, wink. But yep. Any other thoughts before we move on from the American Express roster? Did we kind of cover everything we wanted to get to?
I had no additional thoughts on American Express. The one that did pop in my head that I just wanted your brief take on is Greg Norman just old man yells at cloud trying to stay fucking relevant because he got booted out now.
Yeah. Yes. That's 100% what he is. It's the only way he can stay relevant now.
I would love to sit down with Rory and Tiger. I think I changed the game much more than they believe I did.
I'd win in a debate over Rory and Tiger. Dude, this guy's literally a 9-year-old. Well, I guess that could transition us now over to an article that you wrote. Was that over the weekend? Was it? I don't want to forget exactly when you posted it, but it was a really well-written piece by Ross. Make sure to go and check it out at ontapsportsnet.com if you haven't done so already. We got bunch of great Chicago sports, golf articles, beer reviews, movie reviews, lots of great stuff over at ontapsportsnet.com. Ross wrote up a phenomenal piece about Scott O'Neill being named as the new CEO for Live Golf. Ross, as you've been the person who's kind of been on the forefront of all the Live Golf news for us here over at Golf on Tap, kind of give us the spiel on what this means for Live Golf, who Scott O'Neill is, and kind of any of the effects of moving away from Greg Norman in that position.
So, I mean, the way that they're moving this is they're doing it correctly. They see what product they have, and they're not just looking at it as a league, but also as an entertainment product. Scott O'Neill is directly involved in front office of sports, as well as working with like the MSG Entertainment Group in his past. So he's worked in the front. He's worked in the front office of multiple sports franchises, ranging all the way from hockey to basketball, as well as working for like MSG, Madison Square Garden Entertainment Group. He's done the back end of entertainment, concert venues, things like that. He understands the product. I think for this new era of live golf and moving towards unification, just an appropriate person to put in that type of role, because he's going to bring both those aspects in, that it is a sports league, but it is also an entertainment product, and he has the oversight for both of those things. Now what we're going to hope on our end is that the PGA Tour is also smart enough to do something like that with their candidate, and just let Jay go rot in his little hole in his office again for forever. But that's kind of where my compare and contrast is I'm hoping that the PGA goes and follows the same suit. Personally, for Liv, obviously we're much more into PGA golf, but for Liv, I thought it was a very good fit, and I think they hit the nail on the head for the next person to actually take over and run this league for them.
Yeah, from an outside perspective, I actually think this is a really savvy addition for Live Golf, because whether the PGA Tour, I know Liv knows it, whether the PGA Tour knows it or not, we're in the sports entertainment industry. Liv is especially in the sports entertainment industry. That's kind of their brand over there, right? So to have someone who's very familiar with that and engagement, that's, I think, a very crucial addition to their group. And I think it would be wise for the PGA Tour to kind of follow suit in that avenue, because, again, it feels like they kind of need a wake-up call in terms of they are in the entertainment business here, and they need to do a better job at that. And not only do we know Liv is having a new CEO, Ross, we know they're now going to be on Fox for the 2025 season, and they just announced their debut is going to be in Abu Dhabi under the lights, or is it in Saudi Arabia under the lights? I might have misspoke there, but sounds like kind of some more enticing, at least, activities coming for Liv in this 2025 season and going to be on television.
I mean, I love the golf. I love, show me good golf, I will watch golf. I think they hit it on the head. I think, our good friend Red pointed out for months that he thought this was a viable option for them, that since Fox didn't pick up their deal with PGA or USGA, there is an open market, let alone Fox has Fox, FS1, FS2. There are multiple outlets where they can put it on and you can watch it. And they went and they cut that deal. They got their market share out there, getting up to get away from Live TV and CW to get on a name brand channel. And it's at the perfect time. We're looking like there's a framework of some sort or deal of some sort coming. They're going to stay competitive. They're going to put their name out there. They're going to put their product on people's TVs again.
And how do you think that's going to fare for them on Fox? Do you feel like that is going to show an uptick in their numbers? I'm really curious how that's going to go as far as the PGA Tour rating versus theirs. Are people going to recognize that there is a new golf league that's on television? Is the older demographic even going to really know the difference between PGA Tour and Live Golf? I'm kind of curious to see how that's all going to kind of transpire here early on in 2025, going against one another.
I think now that you don't have to do like a deep dive search, I think it's going to be more competitive. I think their numbers are going to jump because it's regularly available to just about everybody now. You can turn on CBS on Sunday, or you can turn on Fox. Pick one. Honestly, depending on the week and the tournament, it might even be you and me flipping back and forth. If it's a throwaway tournament in Florida with a limited field, I'm probably going to flip on Fox.
Yeah. I believe the first time they go head-to-head against the PGA Tour is the week before the Masters when they're at Live Doral, and the PGA Tour will be at the Valero Texas Open. So that'll definitely be something to keep in mind as they go head-to-head. I'm sure we'll be seeing the numbers dropped throughout the first couple of events for both the PGA Tour and Live early on in 2025. Ross, some other news going on in the golf world as of right now. Tragically, as a result of what's going down in the Los Angeles area, the Genesis Invitational has not officially been moved to Torrey Pines, but it sure seems like that announcement is just a couple of days away. As you told me before we jumped on air, Bob Herrig of Sports Illustrated wrote something up on it, and when he's got something, you're probably good to roll with it. So seems all but confirmed that Torrey Pines is going to be the venue for the Genesis Invitational 2025. I'm really hoping we're just going to get 4 rounds specifically at the South Course. I don't want to see the North Course rotated in like we get for the Farmers Insurance Open this week. But what were your thoughts on Torrey Pines? Again, not officially official, but seemingly being the next course for the Genesis Invitational this year.
I'm just going to say they're going to announce it this week. I think they're going to wait until Farmers is over just because of all the sponsorships and money that gets tied into this. They're going to let Farmers have their moment at Torrey Pines before they announce the Genesis is going to be at Torrey Pines in 4 weeks.
But regardless, this is definitely tough for the Farmers brand because now their tournament is just going to be held in 2 weeks later with much better players. So it's very tough for Farmers, who, by the way, is going to be ending their affiliation with the PGA Tour after next year's Farmers Insurance Open. I feel like that was probably part of the decision with the PGA Tour as well. If they were going to go to another course, I think it does make sense to kind of not lose the luster of the Waste Management Phoenix Open and choose a sponsor that's kind of already on its way out. As tough as that is, that's business.
That, and I think just the relocation and everything. I mean, you can't just pick a course in LA because it's literally on fucking fire.
Yeah.
So
would you have preferred the Pete Dye Stadium course for 4 rounds, or would you have preferred Torrey Pines? Because that was also a rumor. I think it was Mark Hubbard's brother actually was the one who posted on X that there were some rumors around PGA West that the Pete Dye Stadium course was going to take over for the Genesis.
I think I would prefer to see Torrey, honestly.
That one's tough to me because 4 rounds at the stadium course, it would have been, I guess we don't get 4 rounds specifically at the South Course for Torrey Pines any longer as well. I think that would have been a little bit interesting. I know there were some people who are more so in the golf architecture scene that would have liked some other courses potentially to have gotten the nod from the PGA Tour. But again, you got to think about everything that goes into a PGA Tour event, the stands, the infrastructure, having the people on site to run the tournament, the volunteers. They know that they can have that at Torrey Pines, right? And they probably could have gotten at the Pete Dye Stadium course, kind of splitting hairs. It doesn't really matter to me one way or the other all that much.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's just going to be logistically, they're just going to circle back at Torrey. That it's already going to be well kept. And on top of after last week, I feel like it's just easier to circle back within 4 weeks compared to it'll be about 6 weeks since Amex. So I feel like it's just easier for them to, just don't change shit. Just when they leave this week, just keep doing what you're doing for another 4 weeks.
Grow out that rough just a little bit more for the best players in a few weeks' time. I hope that's the case at least. Give me 4 rounds of pure carnage at the South Course.
And I feel like that's just where some of this announcement's going to be, is that everything's already there. The infrastructure is already in place because they're literally playing there this week. It's 3 hours south of Riviera. That anything that needs to be moved down, transported, like sponsorship materials,
it's feasible.
It's feasible. That's all they're going to do here.
Ross, before I let you get on out of here to go and join the Takesmen for the rest of your night, I need you to give me your picks that you got this week to win the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines. Who you got for me, brother?
So, I hit it because he's right on my number, but I hit it early before he got bet down. I don't think it's going to be close this week. There is only one player.
You taking the stud?
That statistically is in the top 5 in every category that it takes to win at this course. And that is, I'm taking the Ludes. I think it's a runaway this week, which we don't really get in golf. I just think this course sets up for him to absolutely just dominate everybody this week.
Yeah, and he had a top 10 finish here in his debut last year. Obviously, as I'll get to here in just a moment with Joey Ricotta, the field strength isn't really all that deep at Torrey Pines because, again, they're going to be having a signature event here in a couple of weeks. That's why you saw Colin Morikawa pull out, Akshay Bhatia pull out. A lot of these big-name guys who are already in that signature event, they're kind of like, well, why would I play this grueling golf course twice in 3 weeks when I'm going to get paid double in a couple of weeks? So, yeah, I understand why you're going with Ludwig. Pretty good number considering his chances, all things fair. And like I said, not a ton of field strength behind him.
I think
feels
he's
like
down,
a good spot for him.
I think like he's down to like 8 or 9 to 1 now. I grabbed him at 12 this morning when it was still up there. Because obviously we know our rule is nothing below 12 really makes the card ever. So before it got bet down, I hit it. From there, I followed up with another one that the strength plays. It just, does he put it all together? I did hit Sahith at 29.
I gave Sahith a long look, not to bury the lead on what I'm about to go through in the next 30, 45 minutes here with Joey. Didn't end up going with Sahith, but West Coast ties, man. He knows how to put on POA.
Yeah, so I grabbed Sahith. So grabbed Sahith at 29. Went a little bit further down the board. In a lot of the models I looked at and a lot of the articles I was reading, this name showed up very consistently. And down at 66 to 1, I did grab Austin Eckroat.
Yeah, Austin Eckroat. Total driving ability has been spectacular for probably about the last year now. I think he'll be a pretty popular pick this week as well.
And the last one, absolute bomb on my card. I grabbed Thriston Lawrence at 150.
On the PGA Tour this year, coming over from the DP World Tour, saw him make a big splash at the Open Championship, almost won that thing out of nowhere. Guy hits the golf ball a mile. You like to have those type of players at Torrey Pines this week. Ross, I'm going to be wishing you all the best on your card. And again, a reminder to all of our audience, this tournament starts tomorrow. It's not a Thursday through Sunday event. It's Wednesday through Saturday. PGA Tour wants no part of going head-to-head with the NFL Conference Championship games, which I think they should probably just do that for all of the playoffs. But regardless, tournament starts tomorrow. Ross will be in chat throughout the tournament. I'm wishing you luck on your bets this week, brother. Thanks for all your insight on today's episode of Golf on Tap, my man.
Absolutely. Until next week, happy bets.
Absolutely. Go enjoy your time on the Takesman, my friend. And now, bring in the man himself, Mr. Joey Ricotta. Let's see how long he realizes he's on mute for. Probably going to be 30,
no,
45 seconds. Yeah, there he goes.
Because of the reminder.
He's a savvy guy. Look at that grizzly Adams beard my boy Joey Ricotta's got going on right now.
He did have a beard. What's up, my friend?
I'm good, my man. The septic tank.
The septic tank. You led the horse to water, and the horse drank the water.
Hey, baby. You made a great call.
I didn't put in any research last week, and I just followed your lead, and I was like, these two names, they seem like they fit the bill this week, and holy shit. Septic tank. Man, what did you do? What did you do after this win, man? I need to know. Like, did you treat yourself with a Happy Meal, some chicken nuggets? Like, this is child's play for you, Jack. This is now child's play for you.
You want to know what's funny, Joey, is it's actually been kind of a whirlwind last 48 hours since the Sepp Straka victory, as Blackhawks played last night. It's the quick turnaround this week with the PGA Tour starting on Wednesday. I had to get my preview article out, had to get my bets article out. I actually just did a Blackhawks podcast as well with Charlie Roumeliotis from WGN Radio. So I've been having a lot going on over the last 48 hours, brother. I truly have not gotten to celebrate as much as I want. Now, listen, the grind ball in me is always going to go and get something greasy to go and celebrate the victory, all right?
I was going to say, it's probably a burger, maybe some Taco Bell at least.
I hit the Burger King drive-thru, brother.
Yeah.
Diabolical. I went with the Bacon King and the chicken fries and ate myself nice and good. But on the bright side, tomorrow I got nothing on the agenda, and one of my good buddies, me and him, are going to be grilling up some steaks tomorrow night to celebrate this victory. He was right there alongside me. By the way, we got some catching up to do, Joey, because he was right there alongside me at the Sony Open. I was watching the final round with him. He knew I had Nico Echeverria and JJ Spawn, and Nick Taylor went and broke my absolute heart. So he saw the pain that I went through the week prior. He was right there along with me to cash the Sepp Straka ticket. So we're going to celebrate together. forget what happened at the Sony Open, man. It's all good vibes here as we head to Torrey Pines. The West Coast swing has treated me good. It feels so nice, man, to get an early season ticket to kind of like start your season already.
Yeah.
Dude, I haven't had an early season cash really since I've been kind of doing this full time. So to have that one early, absolutely huge, and feels even better to have you tailing alongside with me, knowing you had a great weekend at CubsCon, my boy, and got some extra cash in your wallet because of it.
I truly just needed it to stay afloat with the money that went out the door. So like, yeah, we got some payments coming up here too. So I'm like, that dude, you don't know how clutch that was. So like the next stake, I mean, give me a couple months, but like the next stake outside of the one that you're about to have, the next one is on me. That's all I'm going to say.
Hopefully we can cash another winner together, and that'll make that steak taste even sweeter if we can get another one at the same point in time, Joey. But glad to have you on, my friend. It is our first final bet show of the 2025 campaign. And quite honestly, my man, the golf season doesn't really start until we hit Torrey Pines on the West Coast. The Century, it's kind of a hit and giggle for the champions to kick off the year. Now listen, I'm a sicko, and I'm still going to bet it. And like what happened to you in 2022, Mr. Colin Morikawa came runner-up to Hideki Matsuyama like he did to John Rahm. So that was a painful way for me to start the year. Then as I referenced week 2, I had JJ Spawn who gagged it away down the stretch. And I had Nico Echeverria who wound up losing to Nick Taylor in a playoff only because he chipped in on the 72nd hole of the tournament for Eagle. So I had back-to-back runner-ups to kick off the year. It feels good to get the W with Sepp Straka last week. But I'll tell you what, man, the method is feeling dialed at this point in time. And even going back to the fall, Joey, I've got a top 4 in 7 of the last 9 PGA Tour events. So I'm feeling good about the process right now, man. Let's get another one this week.
This is, yeah, you are like for sure dialed in. And I felt for you 100% the week prior with that, because you had 2, obviously with Spawn and Echeverria, but wasn't there another guy? There was a third guy in there too. In that same like top 5.
I had Eric Cole, who's in the final pairing, but classically played like dog shit.
Yeah, so I mean, you were like right there in like these last few weeks,
dude. It was the same thing as the Zozo. Do you remember when I had JT runner-up, Kurt Kitayama, and Ricky in the top 5? It was literally the same tournament. I had 3 guys in the top 5 and somehow didn't cash a ticket at either Zozo or Sony.
Yeah, no, this has happened to you a few times now, and it's just heartbreaking how this has shook out. I don't understand it, because usually if you were to say I got 3 guys in the top 5 heading into the final day, or even like the final, I mean, final few holes, like it's not even the final day; it's the final few holes, and you're not coming away with a win. So like this is just the golf gods repaying you for that disaster last week. I feel
definitely. It was much needed, much appreciated. But we're on to Torrey Pines this week. You want me to give you the rundown of what I got for Torrey Pines and kind of the stuff that I've been looking at this week?
Yeah, let's hear it, man.
For sure. And just want to make sure to run through it as well for anyone in the audience who hasn't officially made their clicks yet. But yes, we're at Torrey Pines this week. Unfortunately, Joey, we are fully amidst course rotation season, which is like the most unfortunate part of the year.
I hate that.
No shot tracker last week at 2 of the 3 courses for the American Express. No shot tracker at the Torrey Pines North course, which they'll be splitting the opening 36 rounds between those 2 courses. The South is the grueling one. That's the major championship level test. 7,700 yards. Longest course on the PGA Tour, one of 2 courses on the PGA Tour that is longer than 7,500 yards and has greens smaller than 5,000 square feet. So it's long, 4-inch fairway rough, small greens. You got to be avoiding bogeys. Pars are really good scores at the South course. You're going to be trying to make pars because you're going to be facing a lot of long par 4s. 7 of them are over 450 yards. Most of the par 3s are longer than 200, and even 2 of the par 5s get up over 615. So there's really no surefire birdie holes at the South course. It's very different to what we've seen in the opening 3 weeks of the PGA Tour season. The North course is the one you can score on. It's over 500 yards, shorter than the South course. It's got a lot more trees to kind of block in the coastal winds that can impact players' balls there. And actually, Joey, each of the last 5 winners of the Farmers Insurance Open has shot at least 69 or better in their one round on the North course. So you got to capitalize on your scoring chances there, because for the other 54 holes, you don't really get very many of them. It's a big boy golf course, man, which is type of golf courses I like to see. I know the real golf architecture nuts don't really necessarily like the style of setup where the only punishment is kind of the grueling long rough on the fairways and around the greens, but that's kind of how you make golf courses challenging in the United States nowadays, with technology being as dominant as it is. And regardless, it's still a test, my man. I mean, pulling up the past winners of this tournament over the last 5 years, Matthew Pavon won at -13 last year, Max Homa the year prior at -13, Luke List at -15, Patrick Reed -14, Mark Leishman -15. Those are the golf courses I love, and we don't get enough of them, in my opinion, on the PGA Tour. So I'm excited to see Torrey Pines in action this week. As far as key stats that I'm looking at, pretty much all the same for what you want to look at for major championship setups: total driving distance and accuracy. You really got to have distance here, man, with it being 7,700 yards, because, you know, guys are going to be missing the fairway here. They're pretty narrow fairways, and if you're going to miss the fairway, you might as well be further up so you can hit a less lofted club into the greens. So driving distance, I think, is really important here. I would like you to have kind of that total driving ability with accuracy along with it, but you got to be an elite tee to green player, good ball striking, good at bogey avoidance and scrambling and around the greens, and a lot of long iron proximity, Joey, because just the approach shots are from so far out: 150 to 175, 175 to 200, 200 plus, and then specifically the long par fours, 450 to 500, par fives, 550 to 600, par threes over 200. And then I even like looking back at some course history here at Torrey Pines, and also some of the other more demanding tee to green tests that we see on the PGA Tour, like Riviera for the Genesis Invitational, which unfortunately it won't be there this year. Bay Hill for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. What else am I forgetting here? Murfield Village for the Memorial. Like, those are golf courses that are all very similar and kind of require the same things. And one thing I pointed out in my research article as well, Joey, 5 of the last 6 winners, Matthew Pavon is the outlier because he was a PGA Tour rookie, so this stat doesn't really apply to him. But 5 of the past 6 winners have recorded at least a top 12 finish at either Riviera, Murfield Village, or Torrey Pines the year prior. So having good past results the year before at similar golf courses, again, because this is so early on in the season, you're still kind of getting some carryover from last year. So I think that is one thing to look at. But yeah, it's just a big boy golf course all in all, man. I know I've said that like 3 or 4 times, but you got to have major championship level game, I think, to go and win on this course. Now, I think you do get some of the outlier winners like Matthew Pavon and some of the guys that we've seen win here, like Patrick Reed isn't necessarily a bomber. That's because the field strength usually isn't all that deep at Torrey Pines, just considering the type of year it is. So you can see some guys from longer downs the odds board compete here, but they got to have, I think, that driving distance and really sturdy iron play and around the green game as well to kind of put it all together and win at that -13, 14, 15 under number that I expect it to be this week, Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not one of those courses where you can just kind of luck your way into a win here.
No.
I mean, it's going to take some good putting as well, of course, but like the bogey avoidance is, I mean, that's going to be key. I think, like you said, it's you got to take advantage where you can, like on the North course. You got to be long. Like, those are pretty much the only golfers I'm looking at are just long hitters this week. And then guys that have traditionally putt well, whether it be here or they have a pretty good track record on POA. So, I mean, those are kind of things I'm looking at. And then there's some guys that like I've bet on in the past year that I had to kind of reevaluate my process a little bit from years past, where I wasn't necessarily maybe strictly taking some of those long guys.
That's funny you say that, because I just think the more, sorry to cut you off, by the way, brother.
No, you're good.
The more we do this, man, and the more we talk it over, and just the more familiar we get with players, the more sometimes you look back at past cards and you're like, this guy had no chance to win at this golf course. Like, zero.
Isn't it crazy?
Like, zero.
I've been doing that though a lot. Yeah. it's totally the way that it goes. I think just with more experience, like you look at these golfers, you're like, oh, more experience. Like on this course, for example, experience is a good thing. And we're looking at track record. But like even for us, just as bettors, that experience kind of comes into play because you just know, like, okay, maybe you weren't thinking the wrong thing necessarily with what your analysis was, but the course will tell you a little bit more the more times you watch and the more times you study it. And I think that is where this is coming into play and can really help you reevaluate and either get close or win. And I mean, that's happening for you right now. I know last year at times, me and you both went through some really cold stretches, and not to say that that's not going to happen. I really do believe that will happen again, because that's just the nature of the beast. Yeah. But I do think that we're putting ourselves in a good position to succeed. And so many of these guys this week, like there's a couple of them that I'm like, that I still have questions on, and I'm going to ask you about that as we get going here. But there's some that I just like blatantly like scratched off the list as I was going back and looking. And it's interesting because I know Ross was talking about one of those guys that I originally was thinking, yeah, that could be a good guy here. And I've bet on him here. So I get the thought process that he even has here. And I scratched him off my list, and I gave him a long, hard look. So we'll get into it though, man. But it's definitely fun to kind of tinker around with this a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point you bring up, because I think it's tough to word this the right way. You need to know what you're looking for. And at Torrey Pines, at this golf course, you can play well here without having driving distance. Like, you can scramble your ass off and finish T10 here. I don't think you can scramble your ass off and win here. And we're looking for winners. That's the big difference. That's the big difference. Like, I know some guys, and this is where I've gone wrong in my cards in the past, and this is when you learn from experience. Like, this guy can play well here. He's in a groove. I don't think this guy can actually, win this golf tournament or win here specifically.
No, you just hit the nail on the head. That is exactly where my head has been, especially this week looking at it, because that same thought process has not really crossed my head as often as it has now, just the last few weeks, even kind of thinking about it and looking back on past results. Like right there, you can so much look at one specific element of their game and say, oh, they can compete here, and this is why they had success here, and this is their recent track form here, and this is, and there's a lot of guys here that I'm going to mention too that I am betting, that I am looking at the track history, but it's how they got there. Can they dominate the field? And that is, like you said, scrambling. You are not going to scramble your way to a win this week. You're going to scramble your way into a top 20, a top 10, possibly even a top 5. But the guys that are really truly dominating are finishing -13, -15. Those are the guys that you're going to need the total package from. So that is, I could not have said that better than what you just said.
Completely agree, my friend. And last thing I'll say before we get into the odds board here is, we talk in terms of an outright perspective on this show, but there are a lot of things we say that listeners can apply and use in a T40 bet or a T20 bet or in a top Canadian or in so many different markets, just because we're talking here in an outright perspective. And I'm sure there'll be some guy on the odds board you ask me about, and I go, I like him this week, but I don't think he can win. I hope people out there use that information and try and utilize it to their advantage in a different way, because that's literally the purpose of me doing the show, is spewing all this stupid information that I have in my brain way too much, and hopefully people out there using it in some capacity to their advantage. That's my whole purpose of doing this show, because I know I ramble on, and a lot of it is unfortunately useless information to me, but I hope it's not useless information to everybody out there. That's the purpose of this show. But what do you say we dive into the odds board, my friend?
Let's get it, man.
And I hate to be that guy, but my odds checker is kind of pooping on me right now. Can you go and pull it up by chance?
Let's pull it up. Do you want me to go with that, or do you want me to try like action or something? Because I didn't even pull it up yet.
Go and give a odds checker a try. My odds checker for some reason is like convinced I'm British right now. It's giving me like 45-2 odds right now, bruv.
And I can't do it. VPN change or something.
Yeah, I can't do it. I don't know what's going on right now. But
let me see if I can pull up. It looks like it's going to give me some head-to-heads. Before, that's not what I want. So let me see. Yeah, mostly head-to-heads. Okay. Working our way down.
I can go to FanDuel. I got it pulled up too if you're not able to find the grid there.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the grid is actually just showing me like all these. It's actually showing me 3 ball players, so
I got
which
you.
is really weird to me. But
I got you. I got it pulled up here on FanDuel. But as always, we advertise or encourage everyone out there to bookshop, have all the books, get the best number out there possible. We are just reading off the odds that are listed on FanDuel. If I know there are better odds out there on a specific person, I'll make sure to shout them out because I'm a sicko and I look at the books all day. But starting things off at the top of the board, Joey, we'll go with 25-1 and under. I think that's a big 8 right there. But these are pretty much the big 8 names in this field this week because, as I think you heard me say when you were in the studio, as I talked about with Ross, it's not really a deep field this year at Torrey Pines because of the situation. Even with where this tournament is at on the schedule, you don't normally get like a ton of big names with a lot of signature events coming later in the year. But with this tournament being played here again in 2 weeks, there's even less big names. So the top 8, we got Ludwig Oberg, Luddy F. Baby, kicking things off at 9-1. Hideki next at 11-1. Sungjae at 18. Keegan at 22. Finau at 22. Willie Z at 22 as well. And then your boy Jason Day at 25. And Max Grazeman at 25, rounding out the top of the board. First off, do you have any official bets in at this point in time?
I do, yeah, and a lot of times I don't when we hop on here, but being that it is instead of we're recording or doing this on a Tuesday, the tournament being on a Wednesday instead of Tuesday, the tournament on Thursday, I actually had to get some stuff in here. So there's maybe a couple, like I said, that I'm kind of on the fence about, but yeah, so far in this range, and I'll tell you the guy that I'm most on the fence about, and it is who Ross was able to take at 12-1. Now I don't see that number, I guess, really anywhere right now. I don't know if it's out there at all, and I'm not loving where his number's at. This course does set up perfectly for him, being great off the tee. You know, I'm not going to take the price, I don't think, but it's just really as simple as that. He did a great job, you know, T9 here last year, looked great again last week. There's so many things about Luddy, like we can. He's built a little differently. He doesn't need a ton of experience at a place before he figures it the hell out. And this week, I feel like, and I could be wrong about this, Jack, but what I thought was the case was this year is a little bit lighter as far as talent goes than it was last year and who's in the tournament. Now, I could be wrong about that.
No, you're right.
But so Luddy, he's one of the top players in the game right now is how I view him. And I think a lot of people view him. So would it shock me that he would run away with this? Absolutely not. This is just I just can't do it at the price. So I just want to, you know, preface that. But everybody else in this range, like you could make a case for really any of these guys. You know, there's different reasons to get behind each one of them. I really kind of toyed with the thought of Willie Z here. He's a little up and down at Torrey Pines, but the up has been really good. You know, he has the runner-up, 2 top 10s, finished 13th most recently. As far as the history goes, but he seems like he's getting his groove back. And I think that's one of the big things with Willie Z is he starting to play like his traditional self, the phenom that he was built up like before the injuries and everything. So I think he's getting there. So that's one that I'm really scared of, I guess, too. Other than that, in this range, I did bet 2 golfers. So, Tony, looking at Finau, 25-1. You know, he missed the cut this past weekend, but T15 at the Century, 9 out of 10 cuts made here at Torrey Pines with 1 runner-up, 6 top 10s since 2014, 2015. You know, and then I was looking at from last year, aside from his putting, his overall numbers, you know, from 2024, of course, really good. 2nd in strokes gained approach, which I think approach is obviously going to be huge. 4th in strokes gained tee to green, 12 strokes gained around the green, which the around the green is not something that we're like pointing out as a stat that we really need to focus in on this week. But, you know, he's good in that. And I think that that's something that's going to be huge. He just couldn't putt last year. And that's the thing that kind of scares me. obviously, but this is the type of tournament where if he's had some really good success and he's found the putter at in the past, lesser type of playing field. Obviously, these are the ones that we look at Tony to play well in. I think Tony can pull it off. Wouldn't shock me. I don't think 25-1 is really an awful number for him. So that's a bet for me. Jason Day, it's you didn't. What did you expect, Jack?
Don't stop. It never stops.
What'd you expect? First bet back, since we haven't really done a show here in a minute.
Little extra money in the account. Oh, Jason Day, 25-1. Click.
And
Click.
Look, this is a ridiculous price for what normally would be where I'm betting even the sickest of sick bettors for Jason Day. But it's not too rich for me, especially coming off, like you said, coming off the win last week. But there aren't that many dogs in front of him this week. So I don't think that that's a crazy number, 25-1. T3 at the Amex this past week has a good track record at Torrey Pines. He loves it. 10 out of 15 cuts made, 2 victories, 7 top 10s. Missed the cut last year, but was top 10 in the previous 2 times before that. So I think 25-1, I had to double down there in that range. And it was kind of it was actually between him and Willie Z. So I'm still iffy about the Willie Z thing, but yeah. Did you mention Thagala, or did we not get there?
He's at 30, so we're not quite there yet. We'll get to him in just a second, but a lot of interesting stuff you just dropped there. As far as the Ludwig stuff off the top, super intriguing to me. There's no way I'm betting Ludwig under 12-1 until he wins again. Like, I'm not getting in at that price. I'm a believer, man. Like, I know how good this kid's game is. And he could Scotty Scheffler this field. Like, he is that damn good. But he's only won at the RSM Classic. And, like, I'm not trying to knock Ludwig because, again, I believe in his ceiling. But he's only won at the RSM Classic so far in his career. I'm not going to bet him 9-1 to win at Torrey Pines, even with the lack of dogs in this field. So I was out on Ludwig at that number, not out on the talent, just out on the number. Not getting to Hideki at that number. Sungjae 18-1 legitimately might be the worst number in here. Sungjae's a great player. I'm not betting him to win at 18-1. I think he's got 2 PGA Tour wins, and I'm a Sungjae guy. Finau, incredible track record here. I mean, dude, if you look at his tee to green numbers, he just fucks here every single year. I mean, hits the ball a mile, approach is great around the green. It's just about the putting, but he's got a good track record here. I understand getting behind Tony Finau. I personally left it alone, though. It was just a little too low probably for me. And legitimately, I like Jason Day bet this week. I'll give you reasons to be encouraged about Jason Day, okay? Not only because he's a god on the West Coast and he putts amazing on POA. He's got a great track record here. Looking at his numbers, I actually legit thought about Jason Day this week. I just wasn't going to get in at 25-1. But he's striking the absolute shit out of the ball right now. Gained 3 strokes last week, if my laptop would load. But he's gained over 1.5 strokes in both of his outings so far with his irons here in 2025. He just hasn't put worth an absolute lick. Like, he's been a terrible putter so far in 2025. And these are the surfaces where he can absolutely fill it up on. So there's definitely reason to believe in the upside for Jason Day and that the putter will show some life. I just didn't get there at 25-1 personally, but I don't hate it whatsoever. I got to
that makes me feel a lot better though, because usually you are when you're noticing the ball striking and everything too, that does mean that's when I really am advocating for it. So that really makes me feel good.
Yeah, I like where J Day's at. He's definitely trending, and he gave me a little bit of a scare last week because I had also been having this nightmare situation going on to me, Joey. I had bet Hideki the last 2 years at the Century, didn't bet him this year, he wins. I bet Nick Taylor last year at the Sony, didn't bet him this year, he wins. I bet Jason Day last year at the Amex, and when I saw he was mixing, I'm like, if this fucking asshole wins this tournament, I'm gonna lose my mind. But I always kind of had a feeling that he didn't have his game rolling on all cylinders enough to actually go and win that bad boy. But he's definitely starting to get to that point. I ended up clicking on Keegan at 25-1.
Boy.
It's not a great number for Keegan. I don't absolutely love it, but I think it's a more than fair number in this field. And considering what Keegan's been up to recently, finished 5th at the Hero World Challenge. I know it's kind of a hit and giggle in the Bahamas, but I know Keegan is taking this seriously right now because it's such a big year for him, being the Ryder Cup captain. And I know he doesn't want to insert himself into that as a potential player. Like, he wants to prove it. Like, he doesn't want it to be a conversation. He wants it to be a no-doubter that he can be a playing captain on that team. And I think this is a very important part of the season for him to kind of get off to a good start. And then the Ryder Cup pressure will probably start to pick up later on in the year. But he's been really good ever since that win at the BMW Championship to close out last year. 5th at the Hero World Challenge. T15 at the Century to begin the season. And then was also T6 at the Sony the next week. But what I really liked out of Keegan is how well-rounded his game's been. He's gained strokes in all 4 major categories in both starts to kick off the year. The total driving ability has been great. He's gained at least 1 stroke off the tee in 7 of his last 8 starts. He also gained 2.4 strokes with his irons at the Century, 1.6 strokes in that category at the Sony Open. So he's got good driving ability, 43rd in driving accuracy over the last 36 rounds, and his course history here has been pretty awesome. He's got a runner-up finish in 2023, a T4 in 2017, solo 5th in 2018, and 4 other top 25s and 13 career appearances. And in those 13 career appearances, Joey, he's never lost strokes ball striking to the field. As I mentioned, he's in a great run ball striking at the moment. He's gained strokes putting 4 times at this tournament, but each of them have been for greater than 1 stroke. At the moment, he's gained strokes putting in 4 consecutive tournaments, so it just feels like a lot of things are coming together at the moment for Keegan Bradley. And then I hit Willie Z at 28-1. I just thought the number was too good. I honestly don't know if Willie is trending enough to go and pick up a victory quite yet, but the upside on this type of golf course was too high for me to pass up at 28-1 because, as you mentioned, he's got a couple of miscuts here, and that's what this golf course will do. It's a very erratic golf course, right? Because you can make big numbers and it ruins your entire tournament. It makes one hole can make it look like you had a terrible tournament. But the upside for Willie Z is undeniable. 2 top 10s, 3 top 13s, and 5 career starts. And we know Willie Z on hard golf courses where you need to drive the ball accurately and long from tee to green. That's his game. There's no surprise we saw Willie Z finish T4 at the Arnold Palmer Invitational last year. Again, that's a tidbit that I mentioned in my preview article that a lot of the previous winners have shown that before. Finished runner-up at the Genesis Invitational. His win came at TPC Southwind. We've seen him finish runner-up at Augusta, runner-up at the US Open. These are golf courses where you need to be elite from tee to green, and Willie started to get the putter going. He has putted well in the past on the West Coast. I just think the upside was too undeniable for Will Zalatoris at 28-1. And that was, I got that number right when Colin Morikawa withdrew. So I knew that number was going to go down. It has. It's at 22 right now. I don't think I'd be on at 22, but 28 was a good number. So Willie Z, Keegan Bradley for me here in the 20s. Sounds like it's maybe just Tony Finau and Jason Day for you in the 20s. Maybe Willie Z.
Yeah. I mean, I love all the points you just made about Willie Z as well. I will say, too, about your Keegan Bradley love this week. He is 4th in strokes gained total. I don't know if you mentioned this. Maybe you did and I missed it. But you were saying a lot, so there's possibly I just missed it. But strokes gained total of the guys in this field since 2016, he's 4th in strokes gained total. And he's averaging – his strokes gain average is 1.43. So that's a really good number. And then same thing goes for Willie Z, actually, who has good, his average is 1.50 on this course. So yeah, I mean, both these guys, I really, really like them here. I can see why you're doing it as well. I don't know. You can't really pick a wrong. Like, I feel like we're going to find a winner out of who else did you have? You have Willie Z, Keegan. Was there another one?
That's it in the 20 range. But between those four, I like where we're trending.
Yeah, those 4, I think we're finding a winner with one of those.
One thing I will say as well, Max Grazerman has been absolutely balling. And I think Max Grazerman is the truth. He can drive it. He can putt. I just can't get him to pick up his first PGA Tour win at 25-1 at Torrey Pines. I'd be really shocked if he won this golf tournament. But I do think Max Razorman is the truth. Didn't want to exclude him from that group. But moving down to the odds board, we get into this. Let's go from 30 to 50 to 1 because there's not a ton of guys here in this pocket. Sahith is 30, Mav McNeely's 30, Homa's 33, Lowry's 35, Pendrith and Kitayama are also 35, and then Siwoo's all alone at 45, Luke Clanton, Ben Griffin, and Bo Hostler at 50. You got anyone from this middle tier range at all?
Yeah, actually. So I did take a close look at Max Homa. But outside of the Masters this last year, the T3, and then sprinkling a few others, Homa had kind of a weak sauce year last year.
He had a dog shit year. Dog shit. Dude, hold on. He lost 9.1 strokes off the tee at the BMW Championship. Like, this guy legitimately lost his driver last year. He lost it. And, like, that's kind of important this week. Definitely.
So, I mean, this guy can drive it super far when he's on. I don't understand. Have you seen something like this? Like other golfers losing their parts of their game, yeah, but like a guy just completely losing even his distance. Like he had one of the longest drives of the year last year at one point, dude, if not the longest.
And he's like known for having one of the best swings in golf.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, he does have a win here, obviously, at Torrey Pines, so I don't want to totally like rule him out, especially with his talent level if things are clicking. But something just tells me something does tell me he's bouncing back this year. I just can't say it's now. So Homa's ruled out, even though typically like this would be a really good price for a Max Homa in this kind of field. But that's just it would be kind of like malpractice to me to be betting him at this point with everything else I'm looking at and trying to follow trends and things like that. Like it doesn't feel like the time for Max Homa, but I could be wrong on that. The guy that I did bet in this range, and I will say that before I talk about this other guy, Taylor Pendrith, 35 to 1 is who I'm betting. Finished the year pretty damn strong, got the win at the CJ Cup, obviously in May, showed up in the playoffs. Not a bad start to this year either. He was 10th in driving distance last year. He's got 3 trips here, a course that you need a little experience on, like we've talked about. He had his best finish yet with a T9 just last year. So 35 to 1, yeah, I'm going to take that swing with Taylor Pendrith. The guy that we might have referenced him a little bit, and I know Ross is on him this week. A guy I scratched off my list is Sahith. He's interesting, and I totally understand why he's getting to him. And I bet him here last year. It was just last year I bet him. I'm not getting here though. He ranks 7th in like the comparable course rankings, at least from what I was looking at from the model that you have up there. Excellent putter on POA greens. There's just too much, like, I don't think he has the full package to what it takes to win here. If I'm looking at, he can obviously off the tees pretty good. Is the approach there? Like, I don't know. I question that a lot. And I feel like that's the one area that I feel like can get him into trouble sometimes with between the approach and honestly, even though he's been putting well on POA, the putting can sometimes fall off too. So I couldn't get to hit there since I like Pendrith, and I just kind of had to pick. But yeah, outside of that, in this range, I'm not too interested. What are your thoughts here? Are you getting to anybody?
Yeah, Sahith is someone I definitely did have interest in for a while. West Coast guy, as you mentioned, putts really well on POA, has a lot of experience. But I kind of came to the same conclusion that you did. I don't think Sahith has it all together right now. I don't think he has the consistent iron play to go and win this golf tournament right here, right now. And listen, he can prove me wrong. He's made huge strides in his off the tee, which has given him a chance on golf courses like this. But from what I've seen in the numbers, the T37 at Sony, T36 at Century, I think Sahith with this field can play well here. I don't think he has his game in all order right now to go and win this golf tournament. So I'm kind of in agreement. And that's how I feel about Max Homa as well, by the way. because I was really encouraged to see Homa in his debut at the Century. He gained 2.07 strokes off the tee, gained 2.5 strokes off the tee at the Nedbank, which that course features Kikuyu Rough, which is similar to what's here at Torrey Pines. The iron game had kind of returned, but I still think Max Homa is in that finding it process. And listen, maybe I'm wrong. He's got to win here on this course. Another California guy likes to hit Theegala, who plays well in his home state, has multiple wins here in his home state. So his only win is in his home state. But I think they're at the point where they're not firing on all cylinders. They're still piecing parts of their game together. I think Max Homa is still kind of finding that driver a little bit. And like, they're just a little bit too much of deficiencies in their game for me to get to them at these numbers ultimately. So I actually was a full pass in this range. I will say Taylor Pendrith was definitely interesting to me. His total driving ability absolutely mashes it off the tee. Club head speed is actually something I didn't reference earlier, but an intriguing metric to look at for a tournament specifically like this. 2 top 16s, I believe, and 3 career starts here. My thing was just, I don't know if I actually see his second PGA Tour win coming at Torrey Pines when he won kind of like a hit and giggle at the CJ Cup, which is like a minus 22 under type of setup.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, though. We have seen Taylor Pendrith, like I said, finish highly here in the past. I do like his game, though, and I think he does have that driver that gives him the ability to win this type of golf.
Yeah, and two, to follow that, his overall like putting last year, strokes gained putting in 24. I mean, he was 5th. Yeah. So, driving and putting, he can kind of do it all that way. And I'm with you. Like, a tough test type of course is a difficult course to see him, beat everybody else in the field. Like, he also kind of feels like that top 10, top 5-ish.
He feels
type
like a
guy,
T6 guy. He feels like a T6 guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And listen, you can win money that way on Taylor Pendrith, just not in the outright market, I don't think. That's my 2 cents. Can't bet them all.
Absolutely, yeah. You gotta take a stand.
A couple guys I did want to mention in this range before we move on to the next one. I was interested in Siwoo. I think a slept-on Siwoo is always a dangerous Siwoo. He's just not even striking his irons well enough for me to get there at 45-1. Luke Clanton has the game to win on this golf course, man. He can mash the fuck out of the driver. The irons have been great. He can putt. I just don't think he has the experience here or on these POA surfaces to do it. But Luke Clanton's driver is the real deal and will give him opportunities on this type of golf course. I was intrigued. Ben Griffin, 50-1, actually might be the worst number. That might be worse than Sungjae, 18-1. If Ben Griffin wins on a driver-heavy golf course, I'll shit my pants. It's one of those where, like, yeah, he's been playing well recently, and 2 years ago, I would have made this mistake to bet Ben Griffin, but because now I know who Ben Griffin is, if he wins on this type of golf, I will shit my pants if Ben Griffin wins this golf tournament. 50-1 is crazy, but those are the types of moments that, like, we were talking about earlier on in the show. Like, Ben Griffin, a guy in form, he can keep it going here. I don't think he has any chance to win on this golf course.
And the only thing too, along with not to cut you off, the only thing that he also brings that's like outside of without having the driver is like bogey avoidance to me. Yeah. It's like, you need more than that to actually win here. Like, you might have a good outing. You might get a top 20. It's the same type of deal with Griffin. I don't understand the odds there.
Completely agreed. Moving down though to this, let's go 60. How many guys are at 80? We'll go 60 and stop right before 80. The Ruben, Aaron Rye at 60-1, JJ Spawn at 60, Nicholas Norgard from the DP World Tour at 60, Steven Yeager 65, Eckroat 65, Dietrich 70, Wallace Hoffman, and Thor Bjornsson, along with Johnny Vegas Bombs, all at 75. I got one click in this range. You got anybody in here?
Let me take a quick look at it again. I just heard the names, but I want to make sure I didn't
I'll go first
miss
then.
Anybody. Yeah, go ahead.
I bet Steven Yeager.
Okay.
I just straight up number. I didn't write him up this week because he's not among my favorite bets. But Steven Yeager, clearly, from what we saw at the Sony Open, this guy will just nuke driver everywhere. And he actually was the 36 and 54-hole leader at this tournament last year before shooting even par in the final round and losing out to Matthew Pavon by a couple of strokes. But if you would have told me Matthew Pavon and Steven Yeager are in the final pairing, who's going to win on this golf course, I would have said Steven Yeager 100 times because of his driving ability. His around the green game, I think, has made a lot of strides. And interestingly enough, there's not a ton of data because Jaeger's only been on tour a couple of years, but he's putted pretty well on POA. It's actually been his preferred surface in his young PGA Tour career. So I'm giving Steven Jaeger a crack on a driver-heavy golf course. I quite honestly like him better on golf courses where you can just whack and not worry about the rough, but his distance is going to give him a leg up here. Had the T3 at the Sony Open a couple of weeks ago, and I just think he's probably a better player than some of the guys that he's in contention in this range for, and is a proven winner. Even though he had a shaky Sunday at the Sony, he held off Scotty Scheffler at the Houston Open, so I know he has some dog in him. 65-1 seemed like a good number. That was a click for me in this range.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. The one guy I looked at, and it's not just because he's my boy, but because the approach was so damn good this past year, and I thought, the putting can obviously hold him back a little bit, but the approach was picking up, was Aaron Rai, the Ruben, but he just doesn't have the distance.
I think he just has to be so precise to win this golf tournament, bro. Like, he literally cannot fuck up. You know what I mean?
And he's bound to fuck up.
He's going to finish T12. He's going to finish T12.
I think so. That's very realistic for a guy like him.
He's going to hit every fairway. I just don't think he can make enough birdies because he doesn't have the distance.
No, that's what it comes down to me. Comes down with to me too. So I passed on Aaron Rai, and I believe I passed on just about everybody else in this range. Justin Rose obviously has the history here, where he's had good moments here, but I didn't get there either. I think I'm in agreement with you though in the next range. So, little teaser. I think
a couple guys I do want to shout out here before moving on. Your boy Thomas Dietrich.
Yeah,
first round leader. Bet Tommy Dietz. That dude stinks on Sunday. I'm not kidding. He is one of the worst Sunday players I've ever seen. But he has distance and he can putt. His irons are bad, but he has distance and he can putt. Tommy Dietz is a first round leader bet here this week, I think.
He, if you believe in him eventually turning the corner on Sunday, I will say it's not the craziest bet to make, but I'm not going to do it this week.
He has zero dog. I actually do like your boy Johnny Vegas too. I thought about Johnny Vegas. Long irons, total driving. Hope to God he doesn't shit down his leg on the greens. 75-1's a decent number.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But moving down, I also did want to say Alex Smalley, I don't think can win at 80-1. I don't think he's mixed enough in his young career to actually win. But he's been driving the shit out of the golf ball, and he's been making improvements with his putter, which has been the worst part of his game. Take note, Joey. Mexico Open, Alex Smalley. I'm not kidding. Alex Smalley, Mexico Open. I think he can play well here. I don't think he can win.
There we go. Did you bet him at Mexico Open before?
No, but guys who perform well. Jake Knapp finished T3 here in his debut, went on to win the Mexico Open. If you can nuke driver and have success here, you will love the Mexico Open because you can hit driver anywhere you want. So take note of Alex Smalley. But moving down, let's just get into the bombs range, quite honestly, man, because now we're past 90-1. We're at an hour 25 on this show. I think we both agree that guys from down in this range, there are some that can mix. In terms of guys I actually think that can win, I think there are limited ones.
Yeah, there's not too many. I mean, so I guess if we're considering bombers, we didn't bring up Woodland yet, did we?
No, but I'm in on G-Dub. I'm all in on G-Dub.
Yeah, that's the one that I was going to say we're in agreement on this week.
Dude, okay. So I have my models pulled up. I ran 2 different models this week. One was with a bunch of stats that I think can be like separators on this course in terms of like what I'm looking at to separate yourself from the field. And then I went with my normal model. Gary Woodland's first in both of them. Gary Woodland's, he's first in both of them, man. Couldn't ignore that for a guy who's, I actually, I don't know. Do you have what app is it? Do you have Caesars?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it though in a minute.
33% boost. I think I got Gary Woodland at 111-1. But he's cooking, man. And I really am intrigued by Gary this week. Trending in the right direction. 3 top 16s, 4 top 20s over his past 5 starts. Had a rough 2024 after he was battling back from brain surgery, but it really feels like he's got it going once again. In the fall, we saw his ceiling. He finished T9 at the Shriners. That was his first top 10 in nearly 2 years. Also finished T16 at the Sanderson. Finished T16 at the Sony Open to kick off 2025. But if you go and look at the numbers on Gary Woodland, dude, he gained 4.3 strokes off the tee at the Sony Open. Just was
Yeah.
absolutely mashing driver all over the place. He's actually now gained at least 1 stroke off the tee in 5 of his last 7 starts. Give me that firepower here at Torrey Pines. And I mentioned club head speed earlier as an interesting statistic. Gary Woodland leads the PGA Tour in club head speed dating back to the start of the 2024 season. That's a statistic that isn't involved in my model. So just another reason to be intrigued by Gary. 8th in driving distance over the last 36 rounds. 8th in proximity over 200 yards. 13th in approach. 14th in bogey avoidance. 20th in strokes gained long courses. 21st in greens and regulation percentage. And oh yeah, he won the 2019 U.S. Open on the West Coast at Pebble Beach. Has won the 2018 Waste Management Phoenix Open. He does have 5 career top 20s here, and he's gained over 3 strokes ball striking 8 times on this golf course. Like Gary Woodland's long irons, mashing off the tee, it fucks here. So Gary Woodland, 110-1. I'm all aboard, Captain.
I think you said just about everything I was going to say and more. So Gary Woodland is just the last 2 years that he's kind of struggled here, but outside of that,
but he was going through a lot during that. He was going through a lot, man. Coming back from brain surgery, like fuck.
It's totally defensible. Like it's not like he had no reason to be struggling. So I'm in agreement. I think this is a good number for Mr. Gary. I took it at 90. I didn't quite get the didn't see the Caesars boost honestly, but that is a really good number. 90 or 110-1 or 11-1, whatever you can find him at. That's worth taking a flyer on for sure.
Yeah, I still think it's a good number. I do actually have a couple of long shot plays here, but I do think they're some of the few guys from further on down the board that can actually hang. I got Kevin Yu at 110-1. Was the first round leader here last year. Was right in the mix up until the final round. Picked up his first PGA Tour win at the Sanderson Farms Championship in the fall. That is a golf course where you like to have good total driving ability. And interestingly enough, there's been a lot of crossover from the Sanderson Farms and some guys on the West Coast. It's been really random. But Kevin Yu mixed here, also mixed at the American Express a couple of years ago as well. So that there's kind of a weird correlation. I don't know if it actually has anything to do with it, but I think this is a good golf course for Kevin Yu. Skill set, another guy who absolutely mashes it off the tee. Was in good form during the fall as well. 110-1, I think, was more than fair of a number for a flyer. I also bet Lee Hodges. There was 140 out there on Bet365. I don't have access to that book, so I bet him at 110-1, but I did include that in my article just in case anyone did and wanted to get the best number available, which we always encourage people to do. But Lee Hodges, man, I've had him on my radar to bet him at a big boy golf course for a long, long time. And this could go completely sideways, but I really noticed last year, like, Lee Hodges quietly gets the job done at big boy golf courses. Listen to this, Joey. 2022, we finished T13 at the FedEx St. Jude Championship, TPC Southwind. You got to have total driving. Willie Z won there. Hideki won there last year. It's a big boy golf course. Also finished T18 at the Genesis Invitational in 2023. This was prior to him picking up his first PGA Tour win at the 2023 3M Open. Then finished T12 later on in the summer at Murfield Village for the Memorial Tournament, another big boy golf course. Last year finished T12 at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, Bay Hill, another big boy golf course. And then at the 2024 PGA Championship, Lee Hodges finished T12 at Valhalla, another course where you have to have total driving. And he's really not the longest hitter of the ball. He's like average, but he's really, really accurate. 18th in driving accuracy over the last 36 rounds. Also 13th in greens and regulation percentage. 33rd in strokes gained approach. And if you cut the sample size down even smaller, he's 6th in strokes gained par 5s over the last 24 rounds. 17th in approach during that same stretch. 17th in strokes gained total. And 22nd in strokes gained tee to green. He doesn't have the best track record here. And he doesn't even have a top 10 at any of these big boy golf courses. So maybe asking him to win is a little bit far-fetched, but he is a proven PGA Tour winner. And he's been in some pretty good form. He's gained strokes off the tee outside of his first start of the season. He had gained strokes off the tee in 10 consecutive starts. He had gained at least 1.5 strokes with his irons in 5 of his past 7. That's the kind of skill set that you need to have to contend at Torrey Pines. So I thought 110-1 was still good enough for Lee Hodges. And I just had that mental tidbit literally in my head since the end of last year. First big boy golf course of 2025. Lee Hodges in good form. T6 at the Sony Open. I'm rolling him over at 140 to 1. Last one I got, Thriston Lawrence, 150 to 1, riding him with Ross. Guy on the DP World Tour who probably not a lot of people in America know all that much about. This guy absolutely mashes the golf ball off the tee. And almost in like a Hideki sense, Joey, in some of my deep golf research, I found out that Thriston Lawrence is the type of guy you want to have when no one else is on him. When he's not being talked about whatsoever, that's when he goes and mixes, like he did at the Open Championship. No one expected Thriston Lawrence to go and contend. But this is a guy who actually has a pretty good resume in his career over on the DP World Tour. And again, his skill set matches with what you need to have to truly win at Torrey Pines. 150 to 1, I thought was a pretty good number. I think that's only his number because, again, a lot of people aren't all that familiar with him over here in America. Yeah, that's how I rounded out my card, man. Couple more long shots than maybe I anticipated, but I do think all of those guys have a realistic chance.
No, that was good. Those are a lot of good flyers right there. Like I especially like the Thriston and the Lee Hodges. You know, a lot on Lee Hodges, so that's a lot of data tracking right there.
I've been on Lee Hodges for a long, long time, and if he pays out, it's going to be a big one.
Yeah, no, that's going to be well worth the research there. So I think. That's really interesting though. I would never expected that he's a guy that just steps up on big courses, and I guess he's just kind of flown under the radar in that sense. But that's a good look there. As far as like long shots go, I don't really have a ton. I can give you a nasty one if you want.
Oh, let's hear it. I'll tell you if I like it or not.
You're not gonna like it, probably.
Are you sure?
I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Chan Kim.
Oh, Chan, I don't hate it. I actually bet him. I bet him last week at the Amex. It was pretty dumb, but.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. I didn't even really realize that you.
His game probably sets up better here.
Well, you know, he's got the total driving that I was looking at. You know, he was 7th in driving efficiency, I believe, last year. Total driving 22nd, tee to green 16th, off the tee. I mean, he still has some issues. Like driving distance isn't the greatest, but like for who's in the field, it's not terrible. I don't think. You know, and around
strokes gained around the green, guys a wagon around the green.
Yeah, around the green, he's excellent. But the approach, the tee to green game, actually was pretty damn good this last year. So, you know, he's a good golfer. It's just not really getting a ton of notice, I don't think yet. But yeah, I think that's not a bad area to look. I haven't bet him, and I don't probably not going to. But that's just a name out there that I was looking at. And then the guy I did bet, who we're not going to stop this train.
Oh,
I mean, this might be listful thinking.
Oh, you're back?
But yeah, man, I'm back. 200 to 1. He's got him at 200 to 1. He's the long driver course type of dude. This is exactly where I won Luke List at. So, you know, I might be trying to catch lightning in a bottle here with Luke List, but it's 200 to 1. Like, he did get the dub. It's List, so I mean, you can't ever expect this guy to be able to hit anything in that's on the grain. But I'm not gonna expect it. I'm gonna be real happy if he does it. So yeah, that's my one little like actual bomb, I would say, unless we're calling like Gary Woodland a bomb, but I feel like that's more like an educate, like a pretty damn good type of bomb. I feel like List is just like, I don't think it's terrible. I mean, I think out of the guys that you can find at 200 to 1, like he makes more sense than, I don't know, like Taylor Montgomery, who can putt really well, but like he has no shot of fucking winning. Like,
Taylor Montgomery's actually making strides with his driver. I still don't trust him enough over 4 days to win here.
Yeah,
that was just funny. You pulled his name out but Luke List thoughts. Luke List thoughts from your boy. His irons are terrible right now.
I know,
so bad.
I know.
But here's the encouraging sign. They've been bad forever. He randomly gains sometimes. Popped randomly for 2.8 strokes in June. Randomly gained 3.5 strokes with his irons after losing 5 weeks in a row at the 3M Open. Did randomly gain 2.2 strokes putting last week, and his irons are always cash here. Like what? He's lost strokes with his irons twice in the last 10 years here.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does. Is like let's
Just
see,
mashes the golf ball.
strokes gained approach. How
His
much
irons are so bad right
how
now.
much has he added per round? It's been 0.63 strokes gained approach per round since 2016. Strokes gained on approach. So he can do it here. Is he going to?
There are literally like 4 courses a year where you can possibly bet Luke List. This is one of them. So I'll give you the pass. I understand it.
I think I fell for one of those stupid like pop-up weeks too earlier in the season.
I'm
Or
sure
this
you
last
did.
season.
I'm sure you did. You're always good for one of them with Jason Day, Luke List, your boys.
Yeah, I mean,
Aaron
what
Rye.
the
You're a
fuck?
sucker.
If we're losing money, who fucking cares who it's on?
I'm trying to think. I'm looking back at like courses last year. I think what course could you have convinced yourself that Luke List could have played well at?
Yeah,
Honestly, you probably bet him at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I bet he finished T2 at the Genesis Invitational, Arnold Palmer Invitational. Two starts later for him. Just played well on a long and hard golf course a couple weeks prior. Lost 5.5 strokes putting, finished 56th, dead last in a signature event.
I'm sure I can find it. Let me see. What's the last Luke List note I have in my phone?
Oh, don't you love that?
You could just find all these notes. They're all categorized. Waste Management Open.
Yo, you bet him at the Waste Management? How
Wait
did you
a
do?
second. Did I?
Was that in 2024?
It says 2020. I don't think I actually bet him though.
Yeah, he played there and he missed the cut.
I had him down as like a mention. I don't think I bet him there.
Nah.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be a good example. Not sure, but anyways, yeah, that's
wishing you well on Mr. Luke List. You got anything else?
Nah, man. I was actually looking at. I mean, we've talked through this enough where I feel like you actually might be able to find some good value on like a top 20, top 10 guy that you want to get some exposure to, kind of similar to like a DFS type of strategy to take. Where hey, I want a little bit of something on this guy. And maybe instead of putting, whatever unit size on hit or percentage of a unit size on an outright, let's go ahead and take a top 10 on, maybe that's the Gala. For me, that would be like a perfect example would be at the Gala or, some of the other names that we mentioned throughout. But I don't have like a specific prop bet this week outside of maybe mentioning that. I feel like after the outright, I'm not gonna press my luck and get too crazy with the props yet. I might just dabble in that for now and hit it up when there's some better golfers in the field. But yeah, man, that's about it. This is fun. Glad to be back, and
absolutely.
Hopefully we can kind of keep this stretch going for a little bit now that the year's turned over. Schedules have kind of calmed down a little bit, and we got some big time golf coming up here. So
big boy golf right around the corner. I'll give you one crazy top 10. Aldrich Potgieter.
Jesus Christ.
20-1 for him to finish top 10. This guy, dude, for those who don't know, the real ball knowers know, this guy absolutely nukes the ball off the tee, Joey. I'm pretty sure he averaged 360 yards off the tee last year. Multiple 400-yard drives. He's going to try and bomb and gouge this place, just as he does everywhere. But if he's hitting fairways, he legitimately is going to be hitting 8-9 irons into some of these greens while the rest of the guys are going to be hitting 5 irons.
That's freaking wild. You said he's 20-1 on, is that FanDuel?
FanDuel, 20-1 to finish inside the top 10. I don't think he does because I don't think he has the rest of the game, but if the driver's on, he is going to be in such a better position than everyone else. It's going to be hilarious.
So how does 30-1 sound?
Even better. Keep them coming.
BetMGM, baby. 30-1.
Keep them coming. Feels good to be back here on the show. We, like you said, got some big golf tournaments coming up. Really feels like the golf season starts to pick up once we hit Torrey Pines. Thank you to everyone who tuned into this elongated version of Golf on Tap. Greatly appreciate it. Reminder, go and follow Golf on Tap for free wherever you listen to your podcast. That way you can catch every episode if you're not able to join us live. Also, go and subscribe to On Tap Sportsnet over on YouTube. That way you can watch the videos when they're uploaded on YouTube. You can also join us live and interact with us in the comment section over there. Ask questions. Let us know who you're tailing, who you're fading for that week's specific tournament. Thank you all again, everyone. Until next time, crack 'em, lock 'em. Let's catch.